The House will come to order. Members, please take your seats. Sergeant at Arms.
The House is now in session. All persons not entitled to privilege of the floor, please retire to the gallery.
The members will rise and be led in prayer by Pastor Lynn Hardaway, Blackwater Baptist Church, Virginia Beach, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which will be led by the delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
All right, let's pray. Father, I confess that knowing how to pray for this assembly of people is a little beyond the pale of what I normally do. But I think if I were to ask any one thing from you for them, it would be your favor. God, would you favor our governor? Would you favor our lieutenant governor? Would you favor our attorney general? But for this group, would you favor them as they seek to open doors and make decisions to make this great commonwealth an even greater place, to thrive in such a way that even the weakest among us are taken care of and supported. And Father, I pray that you'll favor them with wisdom when they need that. You'll favor them with grace. You'll favor them, Lord, with patience with one another and mercy. And God, would you favor them with humility when that's needed? But above all, favor them with your love for one another and friendship, for this commonwealth is truly worthy of that. And we'll thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The members will answer the roll call by indicating their presence on the electronic voting board. Clerk will close the roll.
Mr. Speaker, a quorum is present.
Pursuant to House Rule 3, I have examined and approved the Journal of the House of Delegates for January 19, 2024. Motions and resolutions under Rule 39 pursuant to the provisions of Rule 40 are now in order. Does the clerk have any announcements or communications?
No announcements or communications. Accordingly, pursuant to House Rule 40, in this first portion of the morning hour, Speaker requests that members use the request to speak buttons for the items displayed on the voting board for reference.
The delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Knight.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, sir. Today, our prayer was done by Dr. Lynn Hardaway, and he's a pastor at Blackwater Baptist Church. And Blackwater Baptist Church, we had my church, which was on the other side of the river, and they were having a hard time crossing the river, so we created this church 12 years after mine. My church was in 1762. Theirs was in 1774. Dr. Hardaway hadn't been there the whole time, but he's been there a right good time. Dr. Hardaway, I think as you can tell by his prayer today, asking for love and compassion for everybody, has been the pastor there where my wife and I got married 40 years ago, and he's done an excellent job. Everyone likes him. In fact, one of our pages was sitting beside him, Genevieve, and she lives about 3 or 4 doors down from this rural church in the southern end of Virginia Beach. And Dr. Hardaway got his doctorate in Liberty University in church health and evangelism, and his passion in ministry is to encourage pastors and congregations in their efforts to fulfill the Great Commission in the midst of a change in culture. And I would ask the members of the delegation here, if they don't mind, to give Dr. Lynn Hardaway a warm house welcome.
Welcome, Dr. Hardaway. Welcome. Thank you for being here today, Dr. Hardaway. The delegate from Richmond City, Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. Joining us today in the gallery are recovery advocates representing the Virginia Association of Recovery Residences. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration reports that between 2015 and 2017, approximately 502,000 Virginians over the age of 12 had substance use disorder. In 2021, there were 2,656 deaths in Virginia attributed to substance use disorder. But there is hope. In 2020, a study by the CDC and National Institute on Drug Abuse found that 3 out of 4 people who experience addiction are able to reach recovery. Organizations like VAR work to support the recovery community through partnerships with the state and other community stakeholders. Their members provide safe, stable, sober housing. Delegate Corner and I ask our colleagues to please join us in giving these recovery advocates a warm house welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Scott, Delegate Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, on behalf of the Southwest delegation, today in the gallery or on the grounds we have one of our former colleagues' wife, Miss Linda Stump. She was wife of former delegate Jackie Stump, who represented the 3rd District from 1992 to 2005. We lost him in 2016. Jackie was a great friend. A lot of you that were here during that time remember how great a friend Jackie was during that time, and that he always loved Southwest Virginia. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope that you will join me in welcoming Ms. Stump to the Capitol today.
Thank you and welcome. The delegate from Albemarle, Delegate Carson.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon. Mr. Speaker, today in the gallery we have members of the Virginia School Board Association Board of Directors. I ask that they please rise. You guys are beating me to the punch with the applause, but it is worthwhile. VSBA is headquartered in beautiful Charlottesville, but its influence extends much further. It was founded in 1916 and represents 131 school divisions across the Commonwealth, currently serving members in every one of our districts. As a voluntary and nonpartisan organization that supports Virginia school boards, VSBA's mission is to promote excellence in public education through leadership, advocacy, and support. Many of you already know this because sitting on the floor right now are at least 10 former school board members, myself included. My apologies if I missed anyone because I was clicking through all y'all's profiles at 6 a.m. this morning, and after a while I started skipping some names, but I got up to 10 on the floor. When I ran for the House of Delegates, the running joke in my head, if I ever started questioning why I was doing what I was doing, is that serving here couldn't be any harder than serving on a school board. Luckily, the Virginia School Board Association is there to provide school board members with resources, support, and help us stay focused on our ultimate goal, which is providing a world-class education for our students. Members from the school board will be visiting our offices tomorrow. I encourage you to take their visits or to attend their reception tonight. Mr. Speaker, I ask that everyone join me in giving the VSBA a warm house welcome.
Welcome, welcome, school board. The delegate from Prince William, Delegate Munden King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is the most wonderful day of session. The dynamic women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated are here for Delta Days at the General Assembly. More than 200 women are here from every corner of the Commonwealth to do what Deltas do best: take action. Not just any action, social action. Since our inception in 1913, Deltas have been at the forefront of every movement to bring about equality in our country. I cannot imagine where we would be without the bold actions of members of my beloved sorority. And I know, Mr. Speaker, you can't imagine where you would be without the wonderful Delta that you call Dr. Scott. While Deltas have been busy changing the world, they have played a fundamental role here in our chamber and throughout our Commonwealth. We have our very own, the first Black woman to chair the powerful Labor and Commerce Committee, Delegate Jawan Ward. We have former delegate and the first Black woman to represent Virginia in the U.S. Congress, Jennifer McClellan. I could go on and on and on about how wonderful this sisterhood is. But I think you all get it. I think you know what's up. Please join Delegate Gardner, Delegate Ward, and myself in welcoming the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated to the Capitol.
Welcome, Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. I gotta say it with a little zest, because y'all not gonna get me divorced up in the day. The delegate from Washington, Delegate O'Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an announcement.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to invite all of my House colleagues to join me tomorrow morning for the inaugural meeting of the brand new Virginia Private College Caucus. And being a graduate of Emory and Henry myself, I actually started this in partnership with Senator Jennifer Boysko, who is a graduate of Hollins University. And the whole point of this caucus is to hopefully foster a deeper understanding and appreciation of the role that private colleges play throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia on both the educational and the economic landscape. We have a lot of members of this body and the one down the hall that are graduates of these institutions, and all of us represent people who were either directly or indirectly a part of Virginia private colleges. And so this caucus will offer an opportunity to directly engage with college presidents and senior leaders, and will offer some insights into the challenges and achievements that are going on in our private colleges. And I think you will be quite surprised at what the profile of a Virginia private college student looks like these days. It's most likely quite a bit different from what you assume. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope everyone will join us tomorrow morning for some discussion and for coffee in the General Assembly building in room 700 North, and that will be at 7:30 a.m. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The delegate from Henrico, Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of two introductions.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members of the House, I would like to welcome to the gallery, first of all, the Virginia Transit Association, who are with us today. Every year, the Commonwealth's public transportation network moves tens of millions of Virginians, generating over $9 billion in economic benefits for the state, and prevent the release of over 40,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emission from our environment. Simply, public transportation moves our citizens, our economy, and our environment forward. So I hope you will join with the members tonight at Richmond Historic Main Street Station at 5:30 for their annual Transit and Rail Barbecue Bash reception. So please join me at this time, and again, welcoming the Virginia Transit Association. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And then, Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of red going on in the General Assembly today, but for more reasons than one. So I'd like to introduce also or present in the gallery, we have the staff and volunteers with the American Heart Association. The American Heart Association was founded in 1924 by 6 cardiologists who saw the need for more education and awareness of heart disease. Heart disease is the #1 killer worldwide, and the American Heart Association worked tirelessly to achieve their mission and to be a relentless force for a world of longer, healthier lives. Today, the AHA has volunteers from across the Commonwealth here advocating for the cardiac emergency response plan in schools, schools meals for all, and tobacco retail licensure. So actually, you would please join me in welcoming, once again, the American Heart Association. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome. Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Richmond County, Delegate Kent.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, in the gallery today, we have all the members of the Richmond County School Board. I'd like to ask that they please rise. The Richmond County School Board was named previously as School Board of the Year, and most recently last year, they became a Master Board. The Virginia School Board Association awards master status to those boards which demonstrate dedication, energy, and profound comprehension on governance. We are grateful to their service in my hometown, and I request that the members join me in extending a warm house welcome.
Thank you and welcome to the Capitol. The delegate from Hampton, Delegate Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm trying to see if they have come in yet, but I just want today for you to know that Multiple Sclerosis Virginia State Action Day is today, and they are here. They are advocating for the Multiple Sclerosis Society, who have gathered here at the Capitol proudly wearing their orange. And their focus is on urging improved medication access and enhanced voter accessibility for individuals with disabilities. MS affects some 1 million Americans, presenting diverse symptoms such as fatigue, sometimes extreme fatigue, mobility challenges, cognitive changes, and vision issues. There are different symptoms for every person with MS because MS does whatever MS wants to do. And it'll do it whenever it wants to do it and for as long as it wants to do it. That is why early diagnosis is crucial. Each year, these activists come to the Capitol, to Richmond, to champion policies that benefit those with MS, emphasizing treatment access and voter accessibility this year. Many of you know that I have lived with MS for the last 30 years. And for those of you who have been here during these 20 years, you may have noticed the progression of this disease. When I see everyone stepping around with those 3- and 4-inch heels, I remember when. And I remember now that usually I wear sneakers because it cushions every one of my steps because of the nerve damage in my legs. But it doesn't matter. Me, just like every other person in here suffering with MS, we try not to whine, because we are warriors. I ask that you give these MS warriors a warm house welcome.
Welcome. Welcome to the Capitol today. The delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Tater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
In the gallery today, we have representatives from the National Alliance on Mental Illness, otherwise known as NAMI, and I would ask them to stand. Oh, hi. NAMI Coastal Virginia is a division of a national nonprofit organization with the mission of supporting, educating, and advocating for those affected by mental illness. Statistics show that 1 in 5 people live with a mental health condition, yet only approximately 1/3 of them receive treatment. Through free education, services, classes, support groups, and community events, NAMI Coastal Virginia aims to create awareness that mental health is a treatable medical condition. NAMI Coastal Virginia serves the cities of Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Portsmouth, and the Eastern Shore. Please join me in giving them a warm house welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol today. Pursuant to House Rule 30, the Journal shall reflect that the following members are away on pressing personal business and are granted leave from today's session: Delegates Reeser and Ware. The clerk will announce the next order of business.
The second portion of the morning hour reserved for member requests to move legislation from any uncontested to the regular calendar. Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of any such requests.
The clerk will announce the next order of business.
Third portion of the morning hour reserved for member requests for legislation to go by for the day, and if any, the subsequent motion by the majority leader to effectuate that. Mr. Speaker, I'm aware of only one by for the day would be under the category of commending resolutions on page 6 of the printed calendar. Delegate Wright's House Resolution 21.
She has to move that.
Yeah. So,
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the previously reported legislation go by for the day.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that the previous announced legislation go by for the day. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion carries.
Mr. Speaker, here in the fourth and final portion of the morning hour, member requests for points of personal privilege are now in order.
The delegate from Spotsylvania, Delegate Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
January is Sanctity of Human Life Month, and yesterday was Sanctity of Human Life Sunday. On Sunday, January 22nd, 1984, President Ronald Reagan made the first proclamation declaring January 22nd as Sanctity of Human Life Day. I am honored to stand before this body on the 40th anniversary of that proclamation. But first, before I echo the words of President Reagan, let's remember the words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's reflect on that for just one moment. The very first right mentioned in the Declaration of Independence is the right to life. There's no qualifying parameters around this right. There is no mention of those born to a certain economic status have the right to life. There is no mention of those born without disability have the right to life. The right to life is endowed upon all without discrimination. Unfortunately, the children who have been aborted will never experience the joy of love. They will never strive to serve the needy or be an advocate for peace. Abortion denies these preborn children the right to life. This calls into question our commitment that each and every life has value. We should not sit back and decide who lives and who dies based on a narrow view of the value of life. There is value even when some do not see it. External circumstances do not define value. A child with a disability has the same value as anyone else. My daughter Brianna was diagnosed with trisomy 18. We were told that her life would be limited. We were told that she would never experience joy. However, no matter how much her life may be limited by her medical issues, her life has value and has impacted many others. She has helped raise awareness about trisomy 18. She has helped raise millions of dollars to help other children with a variety of medical conditions. She has brought joy and happiness to my home. She has taught her sisters what it truly means to help the least of these. Though she may never stand before a committee and give a testimony, she has been on this very House floor and helped pass last year's resolution declaring March as Trisomy Awareness Month. Her life has value. Others like her have value. Today, we celebrate not only the sanctity of life, but also the value of all life. And this day reminds us capable of speaking for those who cannot speak for themselves, that we have an obligation to protect that life, not just for their sake, but also for our own. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Virginia Beach, Delegate Fagans.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is the anniversary of the Supreme Court decision that enshrined reproductive freedom as a fundamental right for women for nearly 50 years. That right to an abortion under Roe v. Wade. As a third-generation service member, I take special pride in honoring anniversaries that celebrate the freedom we as Americans enjoy, where we can reflect on the rights that were so hard fought to help so many in their endeavor to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Unfortunately, we're not able to celebrate that today because today we live in a new reality, one where patients and providers across the country live in fear and uncertainty, where women are being forced to drive or fly, sometimes thousands of miles, just to get to a state without an abortion ban to receive care. One where women in Texas, like Kate Cox, who faced a fatal fetal diagnosis, crept closer to death before they were ultimately forced to flee their home state to obtain health care. Where women in Ohio, like Brittany Watts, are treated like criminals, arrested, and handcuffed for having a miscarriage. When patients and providers live in fear of seeking and providing basic health care, the entire medical system suffers. I know this because I spent decades working as a health services management professional in the United States Air Force to provide trusted care anywhere to our nation's best and their families. Working in healthcare is a difficult job, and to do it is especially difficult because of the current political climate. We've seen the realities of denying and delaying healthcare. Every patient and every person is different, and healthcare providers must be able to provide the full spectrum of care without political interference. When I was on active duty, I worked with service members and their families to ensure that when they received orders to move to another state or country, that the medical care that they needed was available to them at that location. But now, there are many states with abortion bans where women, including service members, are unable to access comprehensive reproductive health care, which can put their lives at risk. It makes me proud that our dedicated service members in Virginia do not have to worry about accessing the services they need. Despite the potential harm to the health of Virginians and our service members, only 3 weeks into the new year, we've already seen a proposed total ban on abortion with no exceptions for rape, incest, or fatal fetal diagnosis. We must fight tirelessly to make sure that these type of bans do not see the light of day. Virginians shouldn't have to settle for the reality where women are not able to make their own health care decisions. We have to make sure an abortion ban, like the ones we have seen proposed over the past couple years, do not find their way to Virginia. And women in the Commonwealth can enjoy their reproductive freedoms without interference from politicians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Seabold.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we just learned, on this day in 1973, the world changed. Roe was decided by our Supreme Court, and women across this country finally had reproductive freedom. No more back alley abortions. No more unsafe providers using dirty, unsterilized medical equipment. Abortion was safe and legal in the law of the land. Now, Mr. Speaker, I was born in 1978, 5 years after Roe was decided. So growing up, my generation never has known anything but reproductive freedom. As much as conservatives have tried over my lifetime, 80s, then the 90s, and into the 2000s, abortion has remained legal and safe. Because of Roe, we were able to choose when we were ready to be mothers. And because of Roe, we were able to seek an abortion if we were raped. And because of Roe, we were able to receive life-saving medical care if our bodies were threatened. 2 years ago, however, as you know, we tragically lost Roe, and the world is now turned upside down. 25 million women, and frankly girls, now live in states with abortion bans or very extreme restrictions. The reproductive freedom, the life-saving health care that my generation experienced is no longer present in my daughter's world. Instead of a national standard that protects the lives of women, like what I had, my daughter's generation's access to health care is now being decided by politicians, mostly men, in state legislatures across the country. Even worse, the most vulnerable amongst her generation will be impacted the most. As states continue to interfere with their health care decisions, we see Black maternal mortality increasing and whole communities losing practitioners due to abortion bans. Mr. Speaker, I stand before you today on this 51st anniversary of Roe v. Wade, reminding this chamber that in the half a century since our Supreme Court ruled on Roe, 1 in every 4 women has had an abortion at some point in her life. That means in this room alone, 25 people have either had an abortion or know someone close to them who has. It could be their mother, sister, daughter, niece, friend. It could be their colleague. Whoever had one, and for whatever the reason, and it's nobody's business why, they had access to a safe, legal abortion. They did not die alone, terrified, bloodied from a botched procedure on an old dirty folding table in the basement of a so-called doctor's home. We had the health care we needed because of Roe. So today I mourn for women across this country who are living under extreme abortion bans. And my heart breaks for the freedom my daughter and your daughter, Mr. Speaker, and all of our daughters could lose if we do not continue to fight to protect women's reproductive freedom here in the Commonwealth. And that's why as long as I'm a member of this body, I will continue to stand up, speak out, and fight for our daughters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Clerk will call the calendar.
Calendar for today, Monday, January 22nd, 2024. First category, House bills on third reading uncontested calendar, page 1 of the printed calendar. House bills on third reading uncontested calendar. There is one bill in this block, and it is House Bill 124.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 98, no 0.
Ayes 98, no 0. The bill passed.
Mr. Speaker, continuing with today's calendar, next category, House bills on second reading uncontested calendar. There are 4 bills in the uncontested category. Beginning with top of page 2 of the printed version, House Bill 25, which seeks to amend and amend the Code of Virginia relating to annual retail sales and use tax holiday. The legislation report of Committee on Finance, Mr. Speaker, with an amendment.
The delegate from Loudoun, Delegate Reed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move the committee amendment.
Delegate moves the committee amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Committee amendment passes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. The retail sales and tax use holiday is before you. This is something that since 2007 has been in the budget in some form or another. This now takes this out of the budget and actually codifies it. The amendment that was approved by the Finance Committee basically bounds this so that it fits in the same kind of structure that we had in the budget for the last several years. I move that House Bill 25 be engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
The delegate moves that House Bill 25 be engrossed and passed on to its third reading. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll do it again in a block. Okay.
Continuing with the uncontested calendar, second reading. Next up is House Bill 66. It is a bill to amend and reenact Section of the Code of Virginia relating to public schools, fire drills, timing, and frequency. The Legislative Report of the Committee on Education with amendment in nature of substitute.
Delegate from Rockbridge, Delegate Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill actually just cleans up the code a little bit. There was some confusion between the state code and the fire code, so this brings those two together. It is supported by the fire marshals and the Board of Education. Oh, I'd like for this to be engrossed in advance to its third.
You got to
reading.
move. I'm sorry. I think you have a floor substitute.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. I move the substitute, please.
Committee substitute. Delegate moves the substitute. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Continuing with the second reading,
Mr.
uncontested
Speaker.
block.
The delegate has the floor.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, if the delegate would yield for a question.
Yes,
the
sir.
delegate yield?
Yes, sir. I will yield.
Thank you. Can you explain what the bill does?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
So it brings the two fire codes together, the state code and the fire code. There were some discrepancies into the timing of the fire drills. So this puts those in line so that the timing will be the same.
Oops. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the delegate.
Thank you. The delegate from York, Delegate Green.
I need to report the bill first. Mr. Speaker, continuing with the block, House Bill, second reading, uncontested, top of page 3. House Bill 98 is a bill to amend and reenact section of the Code of Virginia relating to public secondary schools, satisfaction of physical education requirements, participation in Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, the Legislative Report of the Committee on Education.
Now the delegate from York, Delegate Green.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 98 seeks to require local school boards to accept participation in the Junior ROTC Reserve Program as satisfactory for the PE credits. The bill came through the Education Committee unanimously, and I hope that it will be passed on its third reading by the body. And I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to the third reading.
And, Mr. Speaker, next up is in the final bill in the block, House Bill 168, which seeks to amend and reenact Section of the Code of Virginia relating to the Department of Education resource document on supports and services for homeless students. This legislation reported to the Committee on Education as well with an amendment.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Cheese-Gamara.
Mr. Speaker, I move the committee amendments.
Delegate moves the committee amendments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The committee amendments are accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 166 is a simple measure that directs the Virginia Department of Education to provide a resource document for all schools.
Mr. Speaker, would the delegate yield for a question?
Would the delegate yield for a question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I think I heard the delegate say House Bill 166, and I know that she's got two. She's a very prolific bringer of bills here this session. She's doing a great job, but I believe that we may be looking at House Bill 168. Is that correct?
Did I misstate it? I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. Oh, I'm so sorry. 168, Mr. Speaker. I'm ahead of myself.
Thank the delegate, Mr. Speaker. I may have more questions, but I thank the delegate.
I look forward to that, delegate. Continue? Oh, my goodness.
You might want to get the thing engrossed before you sit back down.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, I move to engross and move it to the third reading.
Mr. Speaker.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Now we're going to have some fun.
The
delegate has the floor.
We'll all get through this together. We got a lot of people doing this for the first time, and a lot of us are real rusty. Just for the sake of best practices, I want to make sure that the delegate, I'm rising for a parliamentary inquiry, I assume. I want to make sure that the delegate was had described previously, and I think she was just in the middle of describing it and hadn't finished describing it. If she could describe the bill, what it does, and the proper number. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I apologize for my faux pas earlier. House Bill 168 directs the Virginia Department of Education to provide guidance and best practices for support and services to homeless students, including a wraparound trauma-informed services and preventive measures to assist students who may be at risk of becoming victims of human trafficking. The current statute simply states that schools are to provide comparable educational services to homeless students. House Bill 168 recognizes that comparable services alone do not address the many educational barriers that are unique to homeless students and seeks to provide guidance on the process of serving these students. I hope it will be the pleasure of this body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bills be engrossed and passed to the third reading? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The bills are engrossed and passed to the third reading.
Mr. Speaker, continuing with the calendar. Next category, House bills on second reading regular. House bills second reading regular. There are two bills in this category. Beginning on the bottom of page 3 of the printed calendar, House Bill 166. This measure seeks to amend the Code of Virginia relating to the Department of Education, guidance and resources, composting programs in local school divisions. The bill is reported to the Committee on Education, Mr. Speaker, with amendments.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Keys-Gamarra.
Mr. Speaker, I move the committee amendments.
The delegate moves the committee amendments. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The amendments are agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 166, as I may have mentioned earlier, is a simple measure that directs the Virginia Department of Education to provide a resource document for all the schools that wish to establish a composting program at their school. This bill is designed to support experiential learning and will provide needed information on funding sources for such as grants. I hope it will be the pleasure of this body to engross the bill and pass it on to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Turning to page 4 of the printed calendar, last bill in this category, House Bill 258. House Bill 258 seeks to amend and reenact Section Code of Virginia relating to non-judicial sale of tax-delinquent real properties, unimproved properties within urban redevelopment or revitalization zone. Bill was reported to the Committee on Finance.
Delegate from Newport News, Delegate Simons.
Mr. Speaker, HB 258 adjusts the maximum valuation of tax delinquent property subject to non-judicial sale from $25,000 to $40,000 in order to assist with urban revitalization. The bill is limited to unimproved properties in designated redevelopment areas of less than 1/2 acre. I move that the bill be engrossed and moved to its third reading.
Shall the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The bill is engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Mr. Speaker, the next category, middle of page 4, the printed calendar, memorial resolutions laid on the Speaker's table. The memorial resolutions to be adopted in block are listed on pages 4 and 5 of today's calendar.
Does any member desire to remove a resolution from the block? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting in block the memorial resolutions laid on the Speaker's table as listed on pages 4 and 5 of the printed calendar shall please rise.
Mr. Speaker, the next category, middle of page 5 of the printed calendar, final category for today, commending resolutions laid on the Speaker's table. The commending resolution to be adopted in block are listed on pages 5 and 6 with the exception of House Resolution 21, which has been removed from the block.
Does any member desire to remove an additional resolution from the block? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the commending resolutions laid on the Speaker's table, found on pages 5 and 6 of the printed calendar, will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolutions are agreed to.
Mr. Speaker, that completes today's calendar.
Per House Rule 51, the House has returned to the morning hour. Does the clerk have any additional announcements or communications?
Simply announcements. This is the second full week of session, and the committee meetings are picking up, and there are a number of them with some changes. They are as follows. The Committee on Finance meeting has been canceled. That will not be meeting. The full Committee for Courts of Justice also will not be meeting today. However, Courts of Justice Civil Subcommittee will be meeting 15 minutes upon adjournment of the House. This is a time change. They'll be over in House Room B on the second floor of the GAB. So Courts Civil, 15 minutes, House Room B. Then simultaneously 15 minutes after adjournment, the Courts Criminal Sub. They will be in House Room C next door. So B and C, Civil and Criminal, of course. The full Committee on Appropriations is going to meet upstairs in the 12th floor House Appropriations Committee room, 15 minutes upon adjournment, roughly a little bit after 1. That will be upstairs, 15 minutes upon adjournment. The two subcommittees, General Government and Elementary and Secondary, those subcommittee meetings are canceled. So looking a little bit further into the afternoon, 4 o'clock, the Privileges and Elections Committee, Election Administration Committee, they'll be meeting at 4 p.m. in the House South Subcommittee room on the second floor of the GAB. South Sub at 4 for P&E Elections Administration. Also at 4, ACNR's Chesapeake Subcommittee will be meeting. They're going to be in House Committee Room A down in the lower level. ACNR Chesapeake Subcommittee, 4 o'clock. And then finally, the Northern Virginia delegations meeting here in the Capitol at 5 o'clock downstairs in House Room 1. Looking ahead to tomorrow, Tuesday, January 23rd, the P&E Subcommittee on Constitutional Amendments, that subcommittee is not meeting. So I think as Delegate Quinn mentioned, the Virginia Private College University Caucus is meeting at 7:30 in the 7th floor North meeting room. In terms of legislative committees, the first one will be at 7:30. That is the Education Committee's K-12 Subcommittee. They're going to be meeting in the House Committee room down in the lower level. So Education K-12 at 7:30 downstairs in the lower level. Tomorrow at 7:30 also, the Transportation Department of Motor Vehicles Subcommittee. They'll be meeting at 7:30 in House Committee Room B up on the second floor. This is a time change for this meeting only, so Transportation DMV Sub at 7:30. Once they're finished, and then at 9 o'clock, the full committee will be meeting in House Room B as well. And then once the full committee's finished, the Transportation Infrastructure and Funding Subcommittee will be meeting, and all that's taking place on the second floor in House Room B. At 8:30, Health and Human Services Committee is a meeting. They'll be in House Committee Room C on the second floor. That's at 8:30. And then once they're finished, the Health Subcommittee of HHS will be meeting in House Room C. And then, Mr. Speaker, the caucuses Democrats will meet at 11 tomorrow in House Room 1, Republicans at 11:30 in House Room 2. Mr. Speaker, that completes the announcements I have at this time.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that when the House adjourned today, it adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to reconvene tomorrow at 12 noon. As many as favor the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate
Mr.
Herring.
Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring, moves that the House do now adjourn. As many as favor the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The House stands adjourned to tomorrow at 12 noon.